This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and pleased to have as our guest today Will Kornegay. Will, welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today and tell our story.
By way of introduction for our listeners, Will, and you correct me if I get any of this wrong, but you're the founder and CEO of a group of companies under the name of Ripe Revival.
Yes, sir.
So far, so good?
That's
okay.
Right.
But by way of further background, Will is a graduate of North Carolina State University, having majored in business with a concentration in marketing. And as I understand it, you've put that to pretty good use in your years since graduating.
Yes, sir. Go Pack.
Tell you what, Will, let's start by having you say something about what Ripe Revival is. And then what I'd like to do is come back to a little bit more of your background. And by way of sort of kickstarting that, as you've explained it to me, it's a group of companies, 3 for-profit and a non-profit sort of umbrella organization. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Give us some details.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Ripe Revival, I would say our purpose as a whole is to revive communities through food. And we use a strategic plan to allow each business to serve a different part of our mission and vision as a cohesive unit.
I'm gonna pick up on that little those few words that you sort of ran by us here. Reviving communities through food. What does that mean exactly?
There's a lot of ways to answer that. We serve a lot of different purposes with different parts of our business, but we as a whole want to use food as a vessel to empower and enrich lives of people within our communities, from the farm to the consumer and beyond. And so our goal is to find ways to serve farmers, find ways to fight food insecurity, and really, because of that, find ways to bridge the gap between farm excess and food access that addresses those people within our community and everything in between.
Bridge the gap between farm excess and food access. Yeah, great words to describe what you do, as I understand it. And this is coming from a guy who didn't grow up on a farm.
Yeah, that's right. No family background in farming, not at least immediately, but was really drawn to that lifestyle. I had friends in high school that were from a seventh generation family farm and spent a lot of time out in the fields and on their farm, and I was just really gravitated to that lifestyle. Knew I wanted to work in that industry.
What is your background in agriculture? I know post-college you had some pretty substantial agriculture experience.
I knew I wanted to work in agriculture, but I didn't really know where. And so I got an opportunity to jump into the fresh produce industry and was very fortunate to really take a seat alongside one of the wisest agribusinessmen that I'd ever met, Bobby Ham with Ham Farms out of Snow Hill, North Carolina, and took a position there in sales and spent the better part of a decade as his right-hand man, helping to grow their 6,000-acre farm at the time to about 13,000 acres, and watched him also build several food processing businesses that allowed him to help utilize 100% of his sweet potato crop. And so I saw the impacts it had on his operation and really started to get a strong desire to do something similar to help other small farmers and food businesses.
Tell you what, we'll come back to more about Ripe Revival in particular, the transition that you made from Ham Farm to Ripe Revival. But tell us about this first song. Why Country Road by James Taylor?
I feel like this is one of those songs on my list that makes me feel good. It takes me to a place in my mind, no matter what's going on in my day or in that moment. It just makes me think of a country road. And that's exactly what this song is about, is escaping to a place that would be paradise in your mind and finding freedom in whatever that looks like for you at that point in time. So that's part of why it's on my top 3 list for this.
It fits in pretty well with the motivation for James Taylor, as I've read, for his writing of the song. Tell us about your earlier years, and I have in mind your experience with your father in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. So, was very fortunate to be born into a family with, good parents, 2 siblings, and had a really good early life. Unfortunately, when I was just shy of my 12th birthday, I lost my father as I knew him to a brain disease, where he is still alive today. But from the point I was 12 on, I really didn't have a father figure in my life. And so it impacted me significantly. One of the most pivotal forming ages of your life, and set me down a path that had me seeking that freedom on those country roads for just that, freedom from the troubles that life had thrown at me.
Great introduction to the song. Will, thank you. Let's hear it. Country Road by James Taylor.
Take to the highway, won't you lend me your name? Your way and my way. Woo!
That was Country Road by James Taylor. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Will Kornegay. Will is the founder and CEO of a group of businesses under the umbrella name of Ripe Revival. And Will, you were telling us a little bit about your own background. Now, let me have you jump forward and tell us how Ripe Revival got started in 2019.
Ripe Revival has certainly evolved from its, original intention when we founded it in 2019. But we really had an opportunity. We were approached by a company that had some technology to food science, and we actually went to market with the first ever fruit and vegetable protein gummy made from upcycled produce. And I left a secure career in that industry to go out and start the company. And
by the way, when you say upcycled, tell us what that means.
Yeah, upcycled is really focused on how do you utilize excess, things that don't have a home, and turn it into something good. And so Ripe Revival is the name that we came up with. How do we turn one man's trash into another man's treasure, so to speak, and revive produce and people for purpose, really. And that's how we came up with the name, and the original, formation of the business was built around that product line.
And you said you left a secure career to take some risk. I'm hearing entrepreneur here.
I'd gotten the taste of what an entrepreneur could feel when they succeed, and had been fortunate to have also co-founded a couple businesses that had exited. So I knew what it would take. I did not know what was coming in 2019 and how the risk would immediately become apparent, but, left a very secure career to try and take what I'd learned and use it to build a mission-driven business.
And when you talk about not foreseeing what was to come, you are talking pandemic, I'm sure.
What pandemic? Of course not. But no, yes, absolutely.
2020.
Yeah, we started Ripe Revival only a few short months before that happened. And so, had my life savings tied up in a facility and equipment. And we had taken a grant actually from the Kroger Foundation. So we had some responsibility to steward those funds well. And overnight, all of our, ambitions and security were ripped out from under us when COVID-19 shut down the state. And we were told we no longer had a business or a customer outlet for our products.
So what did you do?
Well, at first I cried. I went home and prayed about it, really. Just didn't really know what we were going to do, but we didn't have a choice. We had a lot of responsibility, a lot of debt, and had to fight our way out of it. So I pivoted quickly back to fresh produce, started actually working with farmers who lost all of their restaurant business when the restaurants were shut down, and we launched a company called Ripe Revival Market. I built a website over the weekend, launched it, and within, a week we had 500 members that we were aggregating farm commodities that didn't have outlets, packing them in boxes and delivering them to members all over the state. And so for the better part of a year, we built a business around home delivery and supporting farmers and consumers to find solutions to their problems during the pandemic.
When you say you pivoted, you're talking about pivoting from the technology-based business to the food distribution.
Yes, that's correct. So we focused on the distribution. We actually started working with those same farmers to secure retail or commercial contracts, which is really now our biggest business. And that is a commercial business called Ripe Revival Produce, where we help them diversify into other produce commodities. And then throughout that same time period, we used our gummy equipment and started making gummies for other companies, which we still do today. So a lot of pivots over the last several years.
You described your business as mission-driven. I think that probably fits in pretty well with this next song that you've selected. Tell us more about that business purpose and the song, Someone Like You, by Van Morrison.
Absolutely. So we, have always had it in our hearts and minds to give back. And so for everything we do, everything we're blessed with through our business, we allocate a percentage of revenue from our nonprofits back to a mission, which we actually execute through a nonprofit that we run. But all of that is really rooted in the desire to love and serve people through food and use the resources we've been blessed with and steward them well. And that is really driven by my faith and what I would say a new heart that I received when I, put my faith in Jesus. And so I go from riding country roads looking for freedom to avoid the troubles that I had in my life to really through this song, finding that freedom, finding that eternal freedom and that real freedom, which is really reflected in Someone Like You and the heart behind why I love that song so much.
And I gather has some connection with your wife, too.
I can't go without mentioning my wife for sure. So this is actually the song that my wife and I had our first dance to. And my wife, in a sense, was also a big saving grace for me. A blessing from the Lord that He gave me to just make my time here on earth a little bit more pleasant.
Making me cry, Will.
Don't do that. Don't make me cry. This song really does, it goes from, we say music can dictate a lot of things. Country Road from James Taylor takes me to a lot of memories of joy. It takes me to that pursuit of freedom in the sense of what that looks like for me. But this song really makes me emotional when I hear it. It reminds me of that first dance, but it really reminds me of, there's a couple verses in this song. It says, I've been traveling a hard road, looking for someone like you. I've been carrying a heavy load, waiting for the light to come shining through. And just in that one verse, two of the most important things in my life, which is my wife and Jesus, are really that light for me that keep me going and inspire me to use our business and everything we do in life as a way to be a light, basically, and point back to that. So this song is one of my favorites.
Another great introduction, Will. I may need to talk to our programming manager about adding it to our playlist.
That's a good idea.
Let's hear it. Someone Like You by Van Morrison.
I've been searching a long time. Someone exactly.
That was Someone Like You by Van Morrison. Will, before you and I came into the studio, we were talking about some of what goes on sort of day to day in your business. There are a fair number of stressors for sure. How do you handle those?
Not well. We joked about that, but really it is a lot of stress managing a business, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with managing employees and providing not only for your family, but making sure that they're able to provide for their families. And so I tell my farmers all the time and a lot of our partners, you just have to have faith. And I rest in that a lot to manage through the stressful times.
Speaking of your employees, you told me that you have a great team. What does that look like?
Right now, we've got 15 employees, and really most of our employees have joined us in the last year. We had a rough year last year, but it was a building year, and we've built a really good team. We've got people that come from all walks of life, whether it be from agricultural production, from educational institutions, from ministerial roles, and so we've really found a great team that's really found a common core purpose in our desire to revive communities through food, and it's been great.
If people want more information about Ripe Revival, what do you recommend? Where do they go?
I feel like we're pretty active on social media, and that's always the best place to see what we're doing. And it's at Ripe Revival through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And our website is riperevival.com, and it kind of tells a little bit about each of our businesses and our mission and our purpose. And then, an email address, info@riperevival.com would be a great place to reach out as well.
And I've been on your website. It is a great website, full of information.
Well, thank you.
I would recommend it to any of our listeners who would like to learn more. For any of our listeners who might be thinking themselves about mission-driven business or just making a difference in how they live their lives day to day, do you have any particular recommendations or advice? And I guess the reason I ask that is because it strikes me that you're a pretty good example. Maybe that understates it. You're a really good example of somebody who has integrated his priorities, his faith with how he lives day to day.
Well, I appreciate that. It's encouraging to hear that. I think with Ripe Revival, it hasn't always been that way. We're really starting to find our groove. We're really starting to find our purpose and how we can execute that purpose. And I would say that kind of saying of keep the faith. Well, we've been keeping the faith through hard times. And that's my first word of encouragement to any listeners that are fighting the challenges or may feel like they're going against the grain is keep the faith. But as we build what we would say building a business as a ministry, when you do what you do and run a business because it's how you want to live and how you want others to be immersed in what we would say our community, it just comes natural. Work is not work when it's you doing life based on what you believe. And when you're surrounding yourself with people, which is my second or third tip of advice, is to surround yourself with people who believe in what you believe in and who can encourage you and who can really help, get through the hard times. And I think that just in the last year alone, while it was a very hard year, I have taken a lot of advice from some mentors and advisors to do those things, and we're really starting to see the fruit of that. And I'm thankful for those around me that have kind of pushed us in that direction.
Great counsel, Will. Thank you. Tell us about this third song. Why Joy to the World?
I feel like this is a great way to wrap up the narrative of what we've kind of talked through today. When you're looking for joy in all the wrong places, it ultimately leads to the exact opposite of that. And when you find that joy, whatever that is for you, for me, it was finding my purpose, finding Jesus and really realizing that nothing else matters. And that joy has called me to live a life that really tries to create or replicate that joy for others. And so this song makes me happy. It gives me energized. It pumps me up. If you can hear, my voice is already getting louder as I think about it. But, this song is what we do every day at Ripe Revival. We go out into communities and we try and make people happy and we try and empower them. And so just for example, our nonprofit with our mobile market programs where we're taking these buses into food deserts and we're hoping to serve food, make farmers' crops accessible and affordable to all. We get to interact with thousands of individuals a week and develop intentional relationships. And my hope is that them having access to fruits and vegetables and things that they may not normally have access to, that it gives them a little bit of joy when they sit around that table at night. And I often ask myself, or I'm often asked, what drives you? Well, I think about the conversations that are happening around the dinner table because of what our hardworking farmers and because of what my team has been able to do to make it happen. And I thank the good Lord for the opportunity to use his resources to try and be a light and shine a light and provide joy to the world.
Another terrific introduction. Will, we wish you well in your endeavors with Ripe Revival and trust that 2023 will be a little bit easier on you than maybe 2022 was. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. It's been a real treat talking with you.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for your time and thanks for everyone for listening, and we hope you have a great day.
Let's hear it. Joy to the World by Three Dog Night.